Okay, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, however we may find you. Welcome back to episode 11 of Rushcast. We are back after a short break, and yes, today we're talking about power windows. And it seems reading a lot of comments. It seems like this is a bit of a divisive album, so I'm looking forward to digging through it. But yep, I'm joined as ever by my illustrious heterosexual life mate, Paul Conway. How are you?
I'm, I'm fine, thanks, Joe. And how
As
are
ever,
you?
check out Paul's band Audio Scope and their debut album, Secrets and Lies. Yeah. So Paul's had a short break. Are you recouped? Are you recharged? Are you ready to?
Well, I'm not sure about that, but yes, I've had a change, and yeah, I'm back in the seat again. So yeah, looking forward to this one. It should be an interesting chat about this album.
As we've previously discussed, it seems, in retrospect anyway, that Rush seemed to go on a little journey with a couple of albums, and then they reach a certain point and go, right, we've gone as far as we can go with this, and then they go in another direction. And it seems like now we've reached the pinnacle of the new wave era of Rush. Is
Mhm.
that fair?
Yeah,
Start with
to a
Signals.
point, but certainly with regards to
Yeah.
uh, the electronic phase, if you want to call it. Although the album after this is still quite heavily keyboard orientated
Are
anyway.
we
That
taking a step out of it to so?
yeah, it's sort of. I think the next album is more pushing, probably more towards pop, even sort of slightly jazzy.
Yeah.
But this
Say
one, yeah, we've hold your fire, but that's for the next episode. This one, yeah, I think is sort of the culmination of the electronic phase of them, and I think it's something you said on a previous one that Geddy Lee. This is one of Geddy Lee's favourite albums, and this is the for him. This album is the perfect blend of the mid range of the music between guitars and keyboards on this particular album. I mean, I don't know what you've read or what you've got with regards to this.
I've just been reading people's opinions on it more than anything else.
Okay, yeah.
On
And
my
what's been the general consensus of that?
on my guidebook here, you've got a guy that's he's wrote a couple of Rush books, and and he has an encyclopedic knowledge on Rush, and 13 years after the previous published. So he's wrote a book called Merely Players, which was published 13 years after the official bio. Privately restoring Neil's red Tama drums, he researched, compiled, and verified Rush's complete tour history for a possible future book.
Mm.
Developed an unreleased Rush trivia game, and finished a book on Tama.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's a
um,
drum make. Yeah,
and yeah, and Michael Portnoy as well from Dream Theater, who I think if Geddy and Alex do decide to tour again under a name, I think Michael Portnoy, I think, is probably the one to step in. But
yeah,
that's probably a contentious topic, so we'll won't dive
yeah.
too deep into that. But um,
Mm.
but yeah, Michael Portnoy says at this point in time, he had started to he'd started basically just moving on onto other things. Metallica had come along at that point, and
Yeah, yeah.
he was getting into metal, and Dream Theater was starting to form at this point as well.
Hmm.
He said he got the album and checked it out, but then moved on pretty quickly. Although he did
Yeah,
see the tour, um,
right.
what would go on to become Dream Theater. That whole band went together. That was one of their first nights out as a band, apparently.
Okay.
Says he over time though he likes this album a lot more today than what he did at the time.
Yeah. Mm.
And then there's a bit of back and forth about production. Yeah, but we can get into that ourselves as we go into
Yeah,
it.
of course, of course.
To me, though, the people that, yeah, it seems to be a lot of people, this is one of their favorite albums, and then other people, this is one of their least favorite albums. But the thing is, both sides actually agree.
Mm.
It's what what the people that don't like the album don't like about it is exactly why the people consider it their favorite, and that's what it's like. Yeah, everything. If you don't like this album, I agree with everything you say, but that's exactly the reason why I like it. So,
Yeah, it's I remember when this came out. I think, as with regards to any of the previous Rush albums, I was looking forward to getting this, and I've obviously got the big print version. I've got it on vinyl. Um, it To me, it didn't disappoint. I didn't mind the album even on first listen. I thought, yeah, it feels a bit different, but the thing that struck me about it personally was the production of this album. It is a really wonderfully captured and well produced album. It's really crystal clear, and because this is the one where they brought in Peter Collins, who is a renowned producer, and he would work. They they wanted him to come on board because of his extensive knowledge of up-to-date production techniques, and particularly with regards to keyboards. And he had a fairly varied clientele, I suppose, people he'd
yeah,
worked with.
he'd
I
produced
think,
a lot of
yeah, I mean, more
pop
modern.
songs.
Yeah, I mean, it says here diverse as the musical youth to Tracy Ullman, but
Yeah.
also he done a lot of work with British new wave electronic artist Nick Kershaw, and I think that knowledge and he being up to date with everything really shows on this album.
Sorry,
I
you
think,
see, he worked with Nick Kershaw.
yeah, Nick Kershaw, yeah,
Producing Nick Kershaw, wouldn't that be good?
yeah, exactly,
Boom,
but
boom. Yeah.
exactly. That's it. Some people say, "Oh dear, very droll," but that's the
Switch
sort of
off.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's
it.
the sort of thing I find funny. So that's good. I like that. So I think that was an important aspect of this album, was the production technique, and obviously this is a vast improvement on production wise compared to its predecessor, Grace Under Pressure, which had all sorts of issues because the band self-produced it effectively. This time they actually handed this over, and Peter Collins really steered this to make it this very polished production. And each song is, you can hear everything really clearly, and it just, yeah, very, very sharp focus on all of it, and you can hear everything really well, and it's all very separate, and so that made it a very enjoyable thing for me to listen to. That was one thing that really sort of struck me, was the production side of it. Um, yeah, I think they just say it's tightly energetic, shimmering production, which I would not disagree with. And I think that,
Yeah, that seems to be the bone of contention on the other side, though.
yeah,
People think
yeah,
it's
yeah, they think it's
it's too
too,
sterile, and
yeah, that's been
a
the,
lot of people weren't pleased about the introduction of electronic drums and
yeah, yeah, there was all of that as well, in all of this. I but I enjoyed it. I liked the way that they were.
I think it serves
Now,
the songs. The
yeah,
songs written
it,
in this time was suited to,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, and again, I think that their songwriting, and I think just the way they approach the songs, there is a certain maturity here with how they did this. Interestingly, this is the first album that they recorded outside of native Canada since Hemispheres.
Yes, they gone back to England. Well, they
Yeah,
did the others in Wales, but
Yeah, but they used a few different studios on this one. I mean, it was the Manor, Psalm East, and then Air Studios. Oh, they did do some in Air Studios in Montserrat as well, which is now a defunct place altogether. It's completely dilapidated again, just like the studio in Canada. It's another recording facility that's fallen by the wayside, which is a shame. Because again, there are other bands who have obviously been to Air Studios in Montserrat. Yeah, I think from my point of view, most notably, yes, when they recorded Going for the One. And they recorded it out there, which is another one of my particular favourites albums of all time. So yeah, they were really moving themselves around a bit at this point. Yeah, I'm just trying to see if there was anything else. Oh yeah, that was the only other comment. I don't know whether you've got this. It says obviously, as well as using the cutting edge technology studio wise, Rush would embrace another modern technology by making this album. This is the first Rush album to be released directly onto CD, although they did do the vinyl as well, but it's the first time that they actually did this directly. So that's just an aside.
Also, as a new release on CD.
Yeah, as a new release, they actually released it on CD rather than having it like a part of the Rush remasters.
Yeah.
So.
Right, cool. Did you see this tour?
No.
No.
I can't remember, but again,
mind you, Grace Under Pressure, they didn't come to the UK.
No, but I don't think they came here with this one either. I'd have to.
That's interesting. Yeah.
I'd have to quickly look that up. I'm fairly certain this is by their standards, a reasonably short tour, and it was only again of North America. They might have done a few odd dates. I think as we go through this, I'll see if I get an opportunity to.
That's fine. That's fine.
A quick look. But they weren't. I'm sure they did not tour here on this one. Fairly sure. I say fairly sure. Fairly sure. But I didn't see them anyway.
Right. Shall we get into the music?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Right. So opening up with a fairly. What's the word now? Standard known song now in the Rush catalogue. It's pretty frequent on your Planet Rocks of the world, but Big Money.
Yeah,
carrying on nicely from previous singles of previous albums.
Yeah, definitely.
Still very in the vein of the Police, Ultravox, and the sort of new wave, as we've been saying, of the time, but nicely done. It's most particularly for me. I mean, I think it's a great album opener as well. And but the real gold in this song is the midsection with the solos and whatnot. And I just think the sounds coming around with the bass, it's that boom, boom, doo, 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 the effects and all that. And a lot of people that, even love or hate the album, everyone sort of says this album is it is dated or it's of its time, but I don't see that as a bad thing. I don't know why we get this is dated or this is of its time, when I have it with films. I like the special effects of a film that came out in 1985 or 1979. And I don't care that it looked, I've recently was watching The Never-Ending Story with my youngest son, and I will take those special effects over this CGI crap any day of the week, and I don't care if it's dated or not. What is on the screen was there. They made it, and I'm looking at it for better, for worse. And the films that come out today, it's just stuff flying around the screen. It's just colours, but it just
I think, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, and I know. I think it's the same with a film from the 70s. And I think the same goes for music. It's like, it is of its time, but that's so what. This is a capsule of the band where they were at that time, and I enjoy it for that. And I like the I like the fact that this comes straight out of the 80s, because there's certain things with music, with the dynamics, the sounds, the you just simply don't get today. And
No, you don't. You
you
certainly
know,
don't.
there's songs on this that could have they could have been on the Miami Vice soundtrack, but I like it all the
Yes.
same for it.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I like you. This album opens with this track, and it's become regarded as one of their classics anyway. But
Yeah.
it just grabs you by the throat straight away, really. Say with the crisp production of it, and it just sounds really big and expansive. The bass pedals going, and then the guitar is really good on this. I think it is. It's very bright. It's a very bright beginning, and a very stark contrast, I think, to its predecessor, Grace Under Pressure, which was darker. I think Grace Under Pressure is more of its time than what this one is. Personally,
And maybe subconsciously as well, the band were a little unsure of themselves at the time, because it was a big step for them. This one, they sound a lot more confident, and this is a summer album, despite the artwork, which brings around some sort of dystopian future, which you could sort of say was sung about in songs like Subdivisions, etc. It kind of carries on that theme. I mean, it brings to mind, this album artwork, but kind of brings to mind, well, I say the first Gary Newman album. It was actually Tubeway Army, Replicas. You know, that sort of. I mean, I suppose that was released around the same time as well. And again, it was talking about.
It might have been slightly earlier. I can't remember when about.
Another band that comes to mind, and I don't think Rush were inspired by them. I think they were inspired by this album, Marillion, the early Marillion, Fish era.
Yeah,
my favourite era. I don't care for their later stuff, but
I don't know.
Not through lack of trying either, but
no, I don't mind. I don't mind the later stuff that I've heard. I've got to be honest. I don't. I think it. Again, it would be digressing completely. I think Marillion obviously went in that direction. I mean, obviously, one of Marillion's very early influences was Genesis.
Yes,
very much so. Especially as Fish sounded remarkably similar to Gabriel / Collins, but with it's Roger Hogarth, isn't it, the singer who's been there ever since?
No, it's Steve.
No,
it's Steve Hogarth. Is it Steve?
Oh, it's Steve Hogarth. It's Hogarth, isn't it? I can't remember his first name, but he's been there ever since, and obviously he's a bit different. But I don't know. The stuff I've heard is not bad with Marillion. I don't mind it. But anyway, we'll digress. Yes. with this album, I just think that
it is Steve Hogarth. I'm just looking it up now.
It is Steve Hogarth. Sorry, I do apologise, Mr. Hogarth. It's Steve Hogarth.
He's
I think
he's the new singer. He's been in the band since 1989.
Yeah, just like Peart was always the new boy.
Yeah,
he's the new guy. Alex Geddy would always say, even though he's the new guy. Great opening song. I'm just looking at the comments. Have you got any comments on this song or anything background wise?
Not really, no.
Right, just again, it says here, like the Camera Eye, The Big Money is the second Rush song to take its title from a John Dos Passos work, this time from the third part of his USA trilogy. Like the novel, Peart's lyric is experimental in nature. The song's verses simply list the numerous and various ways in which big business and high finance are influenced by their pursuit of wealth, and indeed the way the abstract concept of wealth assumes an amorphous persona, becoming an end in itself rather than a means, a master rather than a servant. Peart was deliberate in his attempt to temper his cynicism, though. And he says here, and this is a quote, I didn't want the voice of the song to be totally in the voice of a cynical anti-corporate reactionary, though, because things like the Ford Foundation do accomplish a lot of good. I mean, the church and worthy events like Live Aid are big money too. So it very interesting view of it, and that Neil himself actually reined in his own thing to make it a little bit more open-ended was very cleverly done. I mean, we say it every time. The lyrics are pretty good on this album, full stop, all the way through. Says here, I'll just read out what the rest of this says. While the song's timbre shows an immediate similarities to the myriad of highly produced new wave and synth pop that was extremely popular at the time, beneath this shimmering sheen of the song's production is Rush at their technical best, with typically complex drumming, and it is, an impressively mobile bass line and jagged slashing rhythm guitars. This is a unique blend of highly technical hard rock in the 1980s pop, infused, of course, with a very intelligent lyric. Lifeson's ordinarily histrionic and avant-garde guitar solo style is somewhat tamed in this song, with a clearer focus on melody and fluidity. This strong opener has confidence that was somehow lacking on the band's previous effort, which is what we've already talked about. Positive and powerful, it seems the band are now demonstrating the best results of the previous album's experimentation.
Yes,
but I agree with you. I love the solo section of this, and it's not from a drumming point of view. It's all tom work rather than all cymbals, and it just holds everything down. And the bass is really pounding along on this. So yeah, I do like this. I like this song, and it was regarded and became regarded as a big one of their big classics, really.
Yeah, no, it's a good song. It's a good song. So yeah, let's move on then to Grand Designs. We're
not the program.
we're coming. We're bursting out of the gates on this album and hitting the ground running. I think with this one, I love the leading keyboard.
Sequence,
riff for a better term, but it's a real uplifting, high energetic song, and kicks off again with a great chorus. The song just rolls brilliantly. So
it is.
We even get a nice little whoa chorus at the end as well. So
definitely. Package. Yeah, I think so. Again, they were on this album in particular, they were using quite a lot of sequencers, and that I like that sequencer opening, and then Peart just coming in with the little Kratali bell. It sounds really nice, big accents, bringing it all in, and again, it just Peart's drumming on this says here, highly syncopated drum part, features one of the last gasps of ska influence in Rush music. And you can sort of hear that push and pull of it. So it's interesting that you say about Lee's vocals and the melody on this. It says here, Lee's vocal performance, and I do agree with this. I think on this album generally, I think Lee's vocals are really good. On this. I think the melodies and his execution of it sound really good throughout. Really comes to the fore. It says here, Lee's vocal performance is especially impressive on this song, Grand Designs, showing off his extensive vocal range along with his ability to perform the lyric in a meaningful way. It says here, it is a world away from the shrieks and wails he was famous for a decade before, but still retains the fiery enthusiasm that brought such energy to the Rush sound. So it's I do like this one, and like just great. Let me get the lyrics, the big print version.
And as always, before we forget, but it's on every song, but obligatory. another scorching solo from Alex. He knocks it out of the park every single time. I mean, in this period of the band, I think every solo is just a little tiny masterpiece within the song.
Well, they are. They're always little gems of it. I think people skim over it because
there's so many.
There's so many.
Yeah.
But also, I think some of the detractors would say, yeah, they don't sound like your normal screaming sort of solos that you would associate with rock. But the thing with Alec Lifeson is he always experimented with various patches and textures and samples.
They always serve the song. They always
with
the so
absolutely. They always
live. He would have gone off on one, and
exactly. And he always, by his own admission, he would. Obviously, there was always thought that went into it, but he was more an inspiration, and is a more inspirational player. He will play what comes to him in the heart, and he will play these things.
Yeah, he is more of an emotional player than
more emotive. Yeah, definitely.
And not only that, he's got plenty of technical wizardry anyway, so he doesn't need to be proving anything. I mean,
no, definitely not.
But he applies emotion to what he's playing with the technical know to go with it, and he's one of those ones that there is technicality to it, but he just makes it look easy. He's not Joe Satriani, is what I'm saying, or Steve Vai, someone like that, where it's just, this is great acrobatics, but I'm starting to get a bit bored now. It's.
Yeah, I think so. As you've said, and you put it very succinctly, is that he does what's required for the song, as they all do, and that's where I think that their songwriting and just their execution of the songs is, you can't overlook that. It's just really at a certain maturity here, and they're really it's just really what's the word? Absolutely to the point. It's concise but brilliant at the same time. Technical where it needs to be, but at the same time just letting it flow where it needs to as well. And again, I mean, the lyrics on this one, again, just things like, what was it I picked out? Against the run of the mill, swimming against the stream, life in two dimensions is a mass production scheme. I mean, just to actually get all of them feelings and those views just into a few lines, again, just brilliant.
Is it this song as well? There was one I really liked. It was Mind Over Matter. So much mind over matter that we lose the spirit. Is that in this song?
Yeah, that's in this one. Yep. There is that's the second verse. I mean, second verse is so much poison in power, the principles get left out. So much mind on the matter, the spirit gets forgotten about. I mean, superb. And again, it carries on to, it's almost like a bridge section. Then it goes, like a righteous inspiration, overlooked in haste, like a teardrop in the ocean, a diamond in the waste. Some world views are spacious and some are merely spaced. There's a little bit of tongue in cheek there as well. Yeah, again, just a brilliant. But I remember seeing them when I saw them on the Clockwork Angels tour. They did do quite a few songs from this album, and they did this one. They did Grand Designs, and I'd never seen them play this before, so I think
again, addressing the debate over the album, whether it's popular or unpopular, I think again, age has been kind to it, but also where the band would carry on the way they did. I think this album was like, well, I might not have been happy with it had they stayed, but since they moved on, I can now readdress this album as on its own merit. And it brings to mind Judas Priest. The bone of contention in their one was Turbo, where they went 80s, on that one. It was real, and yeah, it's the low point of the bands. It's the most pop orientated 80s. I'm sorry, 80s electronic drum kit. You know, horrible album. Blah blah blah. Today, you see Judas Priest. They do Turbo Lover, and the whole crowd. It's like it's the highlight of the show. Rob Alford doesn't even sing the chorus. Just I'm your Turbo Lover. You know. So yeah, and you just sort of look around, going, yeah, this is the worst album they ever did, wasn't it? You can all metal points at the door. None of you have got any credibility now. You know, you all hate this album apparently, but it's the same with I think Motorhead as well. Another Perfect Day was always known as the terrible album, and they would still play stuff off it. And Lemmy went, this next song is off the most unpopular Motorhead album, and then I would do a song and he goes, see, it's not so bad. It tastes pretty well. Like an old cheese.
Well, yes.
So
I dare say many bands have had,
like that. Yeah.
I think many bands have probably got that, haven't they? I think I'm just trying to think of other examples. I think another band who an album sold dreadfully by their standards for them was Queen Hot Space. That got slated.
Yeah.
That really did get slated big time. But yeah, of course, on that was Under Pressure, which was a big seller. But some people really can't stand Under Pressure anyway. But it still sold, just not as well as their other albums. I don't know whether that's had the same sort, whether that's aged.
Unfortunately, it was never done live either. Well, not live with David and Freddie. They
never ever did that live.
But both did do it separately, and now because of YouTube and different techniques, there's been some pretty good videos where it's.
I dare say there has.
You would be fooled if you didn't know, which is cool to see.
No, they never ever did that together live. So, yes, but I think time has been quite kind to this album, and Lemmy saying that it aged well like cheese. I would have said that to me, these sort of albums age well like a fine wine.
Yeah. I think that was another Lemmy nodding a week. It's aged really well, isn't it? Like an old cheese.
yeah. I think, but you know, our comments aside, I think that for many Rush fans, certainly this album has got more credibility now. And I think for the very reason you said, because they sort of self-limited. Rush were quite good at self-limiting themselves. They would sort of go so far one way and then think, no, we've gone too far now, and then come back and go in a different direction. And Peart said that, or Peart did say that, I should say, that they'll go so far with it and think, no, that's a step too far, and then go back to their core. And try something else. And this would be the final one. Yeah,
they come around back and then go right. And then they reapply what they've learned. So what hasn't worked, we'll discard. What has worked, we'll incorporate, and then start again. Yeah. Yeah.
The with this particular song, says here the lyric was written entirely separately from the music. The music was done, or the completed demo of this song was done before Peart even wrote a line. Which I think the fact that they've made a point, the guy here has made a point of that. Obviously, this is something of a rarity. This one again, it says, once again, taking its title from a John Dos Passos. I don't know if I'm totally mullering the pronunciation of this person's name. The grand design. This was Don Passos' conservative critique of Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal, and was highly critical of the enormous bureaucracy of big government. Peart's lyric describes frustration of a more personal kind. Throughout all of Rush's music, there is a thread of individualism that is visible once again here. Against the run of the mill, swimming against the stream, while the song suggests the merit in retaining this individualistic streak. The final verse suggests that without challenging norms, progress is impossible. We break the surface tension. Oh yeah, I missed that bit. We break the surface tension with our wild kinetic dreams. The plan for the end of the song, just an aside, this had originally been a rapid fade out with that. However, while recording the song, Peart began punching in over the repeating sequencer at the end of the track. And although this made the song longer than initially planned and somewhat scuppered the plan of a traditional fade out, Lee explains that the reaction after hearing the playback said everybody loved it, so we decided to keep it in. Then we had to learn to play it on stage. So yeah, that's just an aside of that. But like yourself, I think on this album, I don't think there's a weak song on this album.
No, this has been an effortless listen, and the album has just flown by. This has been really easy this week to.
It is. I mean, obviously, everyone's going to have their favourites, and some might say, "Oh no, didn't like that song so much," which you're always going to get. But I think as a package, this album, I can't hear a song where I would skip it.
No, it's completely consistent.
I would play.
There are better songs on other albums.
Yeah.
But as from start to finish in a straight line.
Yeah, I think this is a really consistent.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree fully.
And I think, but I always think that this particular song, Grand Designs, was always a bit of a hidden gem anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it was played live, and I've only ever seen it the once, and that was on the Clockwork Angels tour. Whereas things like Big Money would be played a lot more. I think we'll probably get to it. I think probably Big Money is the one that got played an awful lot, but I think there was a couple of others that would surface from time to time on various tours. Anyway, I've got nothing else to say about that one.
Well, let's move on then to Manhattan Project. So we've got two energetic, uplifting songs, at least musically, and then we go into, well, they kind of verge back into their prog roots on this one, I think, and
well, certainly with the beginning of it,
but there's some odd time signature. The way this song is threaded together, it feels like there's a lesser band could easily have made 3 complete songs out of this. And I think the opening verse of this track with the keyboards and the way that the rhythm sequence and the way the verse is sung, if you change that lyric to a love song, say, that would have been a pop. I reckon that would have been a hit.
Yeah.
For an artist. That the way that is so catchy, and the melody and everything. They could have just stuck to that and just gone verse, chorus, and that would have been a pop song for someone. They could have sold it. But they don't do that, ladies and gentlemen, because they're Rush. Yeah. And it goes into a different section, and a cool riff kicks in, and then we go off on. But it comes back to that opening keyboard towards the end. But no, so this is a really good atmospheric song with a pretty heavy subject matter as well. But like we always get with Rush. But yeah, I think again we do have quite a deep subject matter, but you can just blank that out and just enjoy the song as just a catchy song, really. It's we've got orchestras on this as well.
Yes, we have got a string section on it. Yeah.
But I've spluttered all my notes out now, so I'll let you.
Oh, yeah.
I'll take it over to you.
Okay. Again, just an aside with this song was also one that I see them play on the Clockwork Angels, because on Clockwork Angels tour they had a string ensemble with them.
Yeah. And
they played this, and it was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. It really come into its own on this. Again, this one possibly does polarize opinion a bit on this particular, because I've heard other Rush fans say, "Oh no, I don't like this song at all," and really just can't get into it.
Yeah, I can't see why.
But I'm sort of thinking, well, I would have to. It's not how I see it and how I'm hearing it. I'll go through the comments on here that I've got in the book here, which is that one, Rush song by song. For those who are interested, it says, while each of the songs on the album relate to some aspect of power, hence the title Power Windows, this song, named after the secret American project to produce the nuclear bomb, is perhaps the one that discusses the most grave of all grand powers. Song is an excellent example of bold new decisions that Rush were making in terms of production and arrangement. In a remarkable move, this song features no bass or guitar during long sections of the song, and the arrangement is persistently sparse, which is what you said, Joe, which Lee commented on. And this is a quote from Geddy Lee. We pulled things out, but tried never to lose the focus of the trio. In Manhattan Project, on verse 1 and verse 3, it's vocals, drums, and keyboards. This is not a typical thing for this band. Let's pull the bass and guitar out. How can you do this to a Rush song? But it worked well, and I loved the effect of it, which I did as well. And
yeah, I fully agree.
You know, I think so. I mean, the lyrics on this, again, it gives air to the lyrics on this, and like you said, the way Lee sings it, it's very melodic how he sings this. I mean, really, imagine a time when it all began, in the dying days of the war, a weapon that would settle the score. Whoever found it first would be sure to do their worst. They always had before.
Yeah, and you know, we've got a film that's recently come out about that as well, haven't we?
Yeah. I to address
and
it.
again, it's that, oh well, we've got to do it because if we don't, someone else will. It's like, well, yeah, but that doesn't. Should they?
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry, I mean, there's a lot of notes on this particular song. Says here, I mean, like yourself, I just listen to them and I think, yeah, I love it. You know, I love the way the music ebbs and flows. I'm just looking at I don't know if I want to read all of this, but I like the thing I like is also the distinction between the verses and the choruses, because the choruses just sort of pound along quite nicely.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, just the sparseness of not the sparseness, but just the way the words come across. The Big Bang took and shook the world, shot down the rising sun. The end was begun. It would hit everyone when the chain reaction was done. The big shots try to hold it back. Fools try to wish it away. The hopeful depend on a world without end, whatever the hopeless may say. I mean, just, we always say,
he's the bollocks, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, some might say, oh, what a load of rubbish. No, it ain't. It's really, really clever. Yeah, it says here the chorus is very fast paced and quite cinematic.
Yeah,
contrasting and I really, whereas the verses are sort of being a bit more sparse, actually paint these awesome and quite and I'm quoting here, awesome and terrifying imagery of the practical application of the bomb. I love the instrumental version of part of this song with the strings, just builds it up really nice. And yeah, it just and it said surprisingly the lead lines are not played by either Lee or Lifeson, but the strings play that solo melody, and they're playing second fiddle, which is quite rare on a Rush song. But again, we've said it before, they're doing what's right for the song.
Yeah.
You can't really imagine it any other way. I have to say, when they played this live, that part of the song was really, really good.
This is the thing as well. I think such a major, sorry to interrupt, the major contribution to Rush's success in all areas, they've left the ego at the door.
Yeah.
They've all done, if me taking a step back or not adding this, or if adding that adds to it, if the song comes first, and it's works every time. And I think many other bands, it's always it always starts with an ego somewhere, doesn't it?
Well, it does. I think, again, I think with the three of them, because it's three of them, I should imagine they're quite good at limiting each other, because if someone has one big ego, the other two can pull them back and say no.
Yeah.
I think because it's a tighter nucleus with three, I dare say it would become readily apparent, I think, for an ego suddenly spoiling the balance of things.
Lineups in threes do tend to last, don't they?
I think
top and
yeah, exactly. Until unfortunately, until death us do part. You know, that's the shame of it. But Rush have always been quite good. Is that they do bring other people in to play things. I mean, they've got like
there's some additional keyboard players on this one.
Keyboard players on this one, and then I mean, you've got to go back to Signals and the track Losing It, where you got a whacking great big violin solo, not a guitar solo again. So I think they've always been quite. Some people have accused them of being quite insular in the past, but actually, I think musically they're quite welcoming of other people coming in and adding a little bit to what they're doing. So I don't see that.
Yeah.
In any of that. I mean, whether personally they're quite, because Neil was always quite an introspective person in himself, but musically they were quite gregarious.
Although I do wonder as well how much freedom they would have given those people that were brought in. Did they bring in knowing what they wanted and they got it to do, and then that's that? Or did they go, how much did they go, well, no, you do you? Or
I dare say probably with each song, Joe, it would vary slightly. I think with Ben Mink on Losing It, I think he had a fair amount of freedom. I don't know about this one. It would say it was possibly more composed for them to do it, and then embellish it within the confines of the song.
Yeah.
But which, however they did it, it always worked, and it always felt good. And this again is another good example of that. I'm just looking to see if there's any other interesting facts on this, unless you've got anything for this, Joe.
No, I just found some additional. So obviously you've got the bands as a usual lineup, and then you've got additional keyboards by Andy Richards.
Mm-hmm.
The strings conducted by Anne Dudley, recorded at Abbey Road Studios.
Oh yeah, of course, I forgot about it.
And the choir, which I'm guessing is during the next song, which is a good little segue.
Oh yeah.
A choir arranged and conducted by Andrew Jackman, recorded at Angel Studios, also in London. So
again, they certainly moved things around a bit, didn't they?
Yeah.
I'm just seeing if there was anything that was worth mentioning on here. I think, right, here we go. Obviously, unsurprisingly, the lyric for this song was very well researched by Peart. He said here, with Peart, long before the days of the internet, apparently was reading a dozen books to ensure his facts were correct. Indeed, the succinct references are clear with each of the verses, opening lines in each verse, imagine. First, a time in the dying days of the war, which I've already mentioned. The second, at the end of the Second World War. Secondly, a man. Imagine a man, a scientist, pacing the floor in each nation, always eager to explore. It says here, while only one man is mentioned, Peart makes an often overlooked point that both Allied and Axis scientists were working towards the bomb, and indeed for many different reasons. The third verse is more specific and asks the listener to imagine a place in the secrecy. Sorry, excuse me, get my teeth in. In the secrecy of the desert sand. This refers to Los Alamos, a small town. I think that's how it's pronounced, or is it Alamos? Los Alamos, a small town in New Mexico where the scientists working on the Manhattan Project were based. The final line of the verse: all of the brightest boys to play with the biggest toys, more than they bargained for, has multiple dark meanings. While the man known as the father of the atomic bomb, Robert J. Oppenheimer, felt terrible regret after the nuclear bombing of Japan, there were also instances of fatal radiation sickness by some scientists working on the Manhattan Project. This is demonstrated in an animation that Rush used to accompany the song during live performances. I'm trying to remember whether they did use it when I saw them. I can't remember. I don't think they did. The fourth and final verse begins with to mind another man, this time Paul Tibbets, US Army pilot who flew the B-29 bomber in Gay on the mission to attack Hiroshima with a nuclear weapon. It is remarkable that Peart was able to get so much information into a song that has fewer than 200 words. His extensive research was clearly worthwhile, and the song is also particularly worthy of note as one of the few rock songs that discussed nuclear weapons without taking a political view. The song is deliberate in its impartiality and stands as a song about history rather than another song in the catalogue of anti-nuclear protest songs. These protest movements are briefly alluded to in the song's chorus, suggesting that fools tried to wish it away. There is only one point put forward within the song, and it is one that is realistically unarguable. It is encapsulated in the song's final few lines: all the powers that be and the course of history would be changed forevermore.
Yeah, much better than OMD.
Yeah.
So.
That's it. I'm sorry, Joe. I sort of hogged that one a bit, but I thought there was such a lot.
No, there's loads. It's all good.
Loads of things there to bring forward, and sorry to the viewers and listeners as well. Me whittering on. So I'm done.
Yeah. No. Again, and another great song. So
yeah.
Moving on now to, I think, what's the second most well-known song on the album. And again, I think it's quite a regular now on radio, on rock radio, is Marathon.
Yeah.
This is another great song. Great little bass intro. Glorious chorus.
You did break up there a bit, Joe. Could you repeat what you said?
Sorry. I think when the recording downloads, it all kind of puts itself together anyway.
Okay.
I was saying basically it's a good song that builds up and you've got interesting things going on, but it all comes together on the glorious chorus. And the chorus is just simple as well. It is just the chords that bam, 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 and yet they managed to structure just a real great uplifting song. And I wonder if this is it must be a commonly played song during a marathon, because they do play music over the tannoys to give everyone up. And
it wouldn't surprise me. Having not run a marathon, I can't answer.
Well, I send my application off every year, but they never get back to me.
They never get round to it, do they?
Yeah.
Never mind. Never mind, Joe. You might have to do a novelty one,
Yeah.
Like what was the guy who didn't he do the entire marathon wearing a complete diver's outfit.
Yeah, and it was
the
probably
old ones that were really heavy.
Yeah, and that's why we're sitting in traffic on our way home from work. Yeah,
I can't remember how long it took him to do the. It took him a number of days, didn't it, to do that? I think, from what I can remember. I can't remember how many years ago it was now. Anyway, back to the song. Yes, Marathon. Yeah, it is. I like this. I like this song, and
I think it's a great song. Yeah,
I think it is a good song, and I think along with Big Money, this, as you've rightly said, is probably the most recognisable, and was played on a few different tours as well. It's interesting you mentioned the bass line. It says here, again, I'm only quoting what's from the book, but there's some great comments in this book. It says here, Lee's dexterous repeating bass line, along with the steady pace of Peart's bass drum, do a fine job of creating the image of a long distance runner's incessant strides, which it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It just Lifeson's colourful chord voicings build and release tension, giving texture to this musical image. Yeah, I think it's a great song. Great song. Marathon was described by Peart as about the triumph of time and a kind of message to myself, it says. The marathon that is mentioned in the song's title is, of course, a metaphor for life itself, a measured retort to the hope I die before I get old of the Who, and live fast, die young, rock star cliches. Marathon is a song that suggests it is possible to do the things that we want to do if we are persistent and pace ourselves with intelligence. And especially with the line, and it's quoted it here, you can do a lot in a lifetime if you don't burn out too fast. A life well lived, according to this song, is a triumph of both sense and persistence. Have you got anything on this, Joe? Or again, I don't know.
No, I think this is one of those songs that it speaks for itself.
It does.
It's got a great, again, it's the chorus and it's building up to that chorus, and the chorus is almost like a release during, you've got that complex drums, that and it captures the anything really that takes a bit of persistence and a bit, even, and again, I've never run a marathon, but I've done plenty of gym sessions, and it's that mountain at the beginning of, oh god, I've got to get through that, but then it's just bit by bit, no, just keep on, and that bit where you're tempted to stop, no, get through it, and even just doing a simple half-hour run on a running machine, for example, it's that 15 minutes to about 20 minutes, say, that's when it really, you get about 10 minutes in and you're like, oh, yeah, I'm breezing this, and then you get to that little bit in the middle, and it's funny how the last couple of minutes are actually the easiest. It's all the other ones that are actually hard, and there's that, it's just doing something you don't really want to do, but you get that little euphoria. Again, nothing compared to a marathon, but I get a little glimpse. It's that euphoria that you've come through the other end of it, and I think excuse me, and that can be applied anywhere with a number of different.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it can. I dare say it's not mentioned here, but I think it's probably a metaphor for any bands and any big stars when they're tour. I mean, it's a slog, isn't it? It's a real undertaking to tour, all the logistics of getting to the venues, everything being set up, everything being sound checked, all the public press conferences and things like that, and then just the sheer hard slog. Although, of course, they're playing music and they're doing something that they love, it's still attritional, isn't it? You're still having to get through it, and I dare say a tour is a marathon. for these
Yeah.
bands.
And I'm assuming the 12th and 13th song is a bigger struggle than Working Man at the end. You know, where it's the last song, bang, and that final burst of energy when you when you think this out, you're running out. That final burst comes and gets you through that last bit, and that chorus just captures that feeling perfectly.
I mean, you and me have obviously been in bands, and we've played live. You do get that, don't you? When you play a gig, you're enjoying it and you're in the moment and you're doing these things, but also at the same time you're having to concentrate, and that you're expending energy all the way through. So when you do get to that last song, you think, wow, it's just one to go, and you give it everything. And then when you come off stage, there's always that sense of satisfaction, but also relief. You know, to say,
and
we've
also
done
kind
it.
of, oh, well, that went quick because you've been so,
absolutely. But again, it's still the process of going through the gig is still, certainly from a drumming point of view, is a very physical thing. And so there is that sense of relief, satisfaction, and total enjoyment, of course, but also a sense of relief, thinking there's a part of you think, oh, that's it, done, glad we've got that one out the way, sort of thing. And then, obviously for the big stars, well, it's on to the next one. Whereas for me, for yourself, you think, okay, haven't got another gig now for a little while, so you can just relax a bit. So but you talking about like working out in the gym, and you said about that bit, the line in here, it says the heartbreak climb uphill. Peart is referring to the runner's term heartbreak hill, term used to describe numerous difficult ascents during long distance foot races. I mean, those who run marathons, you say they hit the wall, don't they? They get to that point where they hit the wall where everything, they just feel they've got no energy left. It says here, whether it's nuclear weaponry or running, it is clear that care has been taken to research, again, the lyrical subject. Another song that includes outside musicians, and you've already alluded to it. The transcendent musical lift is provided by a choir towards the end of the song. String section that was recorded at Abbey Road also makes an appearance in Marathon as well. And what's this? Oh, right, yeah. One of Ernest Hemingway's favourite mottos was "First one must last." Peart paraphrases this simple line and included it as the final line of the song, which sums up the piece neatly: "First, you've got to last." Again, I love the solo section on this. It's quite empty, but you just got the bass pedals just punctuating the chords. There's a lot of room there for Alec Lyson's solo on this, which again, I like the solo on this one. And Peart is quite busy behind it, just putting little hi-hat chokes in, playing off the snare and things like that, and sort of fairly, sort of not sporadic, but sort of interspersed with some very quick little drum breaks, which just sort of punctuate Lyson's solo on this. But I agree with you, the chorus is the real high point of this, and especially even on the way it goes out at the end there with the choir in the background, it just really lifts the whole thing.
It's like seeing the finishing line.
It's just so, but again, musically they've captured it so well. But the lyrics for the chorus: from first to last, the peak is never past. Something always fires the light that gets in your eyes. One moment's high, and glory rolls on by like a streak of lightning that flashes and fades in the summer sky. I mean, brilliantly summed up, really. As you said, it just, and again, I like the melody. I like the melody of the vocals on this. I think Lee's performance on this is really good. Really good. and his bass, the bass on this, I think he was experimenting with different basses. I think he was using wow basses, WAL.
Yeah.
On this, and you can really hear the twang of that on this, especially on them the verses, really punching that bass line along. Got a slight twang to it. So they were definitely playing around with different makes and brands of instruments as well. Anyway, that's it. I've got nothing else, Joe, unless you.
Right. Well, let's flip this bad boy over then and go on to side 2, and we are now on Territories. This has got a interesting start. Yeah. Isn't it? And then it kind of kicks in with the I don't know, it's got a bit of a, I think Cool in the Gang could get away with using this song as one.
Well, it is. It sort of sounds. It does sound simple because I mean it's 4 to the floor on the bass drum anyway, and Peter's just sort of putting a quite a subtle hi-hat part over the top of it just to bring the whole thing in, and using various, I can't remember what they're called, but sort of like sort of like metal bars and give it that trash sound. Yeah. Sort of just sets it, and then you get this you get the music sort of just gradually creeping in,
especially in the chorus as well. It's sort of like it's like the chorus arrives or you arrive at it. It's sort of just, and then it just opens up with the synthesizers.
It does.
Great line as well. We don't feed the people, we feed the machine.
Yeah. Again, I'll say we'll get on to the lyrics definitely with this one. I think the style of the music is quite interesting. You've got sort of very Eastern musical influence that brings it in. The comment in here, it says, while A Passage to Bangkok included some moments of Eastern musical influence, it says here they were short, stereotypical and cliched with the old is what their Territories, however, or Territories, however, was written after Peter had visited China, and the influence of this post-revolution communist nation on him can be heard in the song's lyric. But musically, they just sort of expanded it more. The song's introduction brings to mind something of at least the Western idea of the Orient with its pentatonic scales and ambient dreamlike quality. It is certainly a more mature effort in bringing this image to mind, which I probably wouldn't disagree with, but I think with Passage to Bangkok, I think that was deliberately stereotypical where they did that.
Yeah.
With and it fitted. It just fitted, didn't it? I think it is quite unique in Rush's body of work that they would begin a song in this way. It's quite layered with this, wouldn't you think, how it comes? Because it's still quite sparse.
It's an interesting way to open up the second half as well. I mean, all the songs are different, but they do fit together quite nicely. The way this album's sequenced is, it's definitely.
Well, you've discussed it before. Well, we've discussed it, but you pointed out that, rightly so, that the running order of an album is more important than you realise.
Yeah,
it really does, because really, when you're listening to an album, you're going on a journey with them. Really,
yeah. I think there's untold arguments about what order a album should go in, and I do think it can, if done wrong, it's as me and Luke discussed on Maidencast, one of the big faults with the X Factor, which is another one of those contentious albums that we mentioned earlier. We've said one of the faults with the album is that I think we could have rejigged, if we could do the album now, we definitely would have beefed up the production. Again, that was recorded in Steve Harris's own studio, and Martin Birch had retired, and I think Steve went, well, I know what to do. I think he should have hired a producer, but could have sat there and engineered it and been there the whole time, but the producer should have had the steering wheel. But yeah, I think one big thing is the order of the songs as well. If we had just jiggled it around a little bit, a lot of people would have got into that album a lot, because it opened with an 11-minute song. Okay. And they're introducing a new singer as well. It was maybe you should have opened with a. There's some songs as well that are quite like 4-minute song that are straightforward rockers as well, and it's like, well, maybe you should have opened with the single, maybe chucked one of the B-sides in, then Lord of the Flies. So we've got a couple of rockers, we've hit the ground running, right, we're in now, give us chuck that in, maybe third or fourth song, and then it's like, oh well, this is interesting because we've had 2 rockers, so we're in familiar territory. This new bloke seems all right. Now we've got that. Oh wow, little things like that. But that album I think did suffer from the lack of outside influences, because I think someone somewhere should have been gone easy on that, maybe a bit more of this, but hey ho. But that's
I think it's it's
a 2.5-hour discussion on that album.
Well, exactly. So
that was the longest episode. We went on and on and on. But
well, I'm sure we're not going to get anywhere near that. So that's fair enough. I think it's actually I think as I've got older, I think it's become more crucial when you listen to the albums and the running orders. And
I think especially today with the low attention span. And it's not because of young people, it's because if your generation had an album on a screen, countless albums, the whole record shop is on your fingertips, and you can go play.
You're gonna cherry pick, aren't you?
Back then, you bought the record, and that was the only record you had, and you had the headphones, and you had the words, and you had your attention wasn't divided. So I think now more than ever, you have to make an impression, and you have to keep people listening, because with your Spotify's of the world, the age of the album is dying. People are just not interested.
It's a shame. It is a shame, but it is true.
And I don't even have a Spotify account. I don't, but I'm a minority. I like an album, and so often you get nowadays, oh yeah, but the thing is, all these albums that come out now, they've only got a couple of good songs. Yeah, well, that's a crap album then, isn't it? It's an album with 1 or 2 good songs is a crap album. Listen to a good album. It's listen to albums.
I think so. The other thing I find, I mean, just as an aside, yes, I do have Spotify, but I rarely use it, and I only ever use it for research, like with regards to covers and stuff like that.
Oh, don't get me wrong. It's
but you can do the same on YouTube anyway. You just listen to things.
Yeah, and I use YouTube and whatnot, but I'm saying
to research. But
if Spotify is your only way,
that's the last thing I'll use. I tend to. I'm still old school and I still like the albums, but I think the fact that vinyl's made a comeback and CDs.
To me, Spotify is the equivalent of a microwave mill.
Yeah, effectively.
Microwave mills are convenient, but if all you cook is microwave mills, you can't cook. And
no, exactly.
Spotify is the only way you listen to music. I question whether or not you're a music fan.
Well, that's true. That is true. I think that's a very valid comment. But I do think that perhaps because of the sterility of Spotify and how people listen to music, I think some people were probably left quite empty, and I think the fact that the vinyl is has made a comeback, I think people are searching for something a bit more meaningful in their music, and that's great. And long may that continue. And I think even with Spotify is very much aimed at the youth, but I think that the youth are perhaps realizing that there's more to it than just these little sound bites of things, and there's more there in the music. It's not just something to be enjoyed, but
as much as the resurgence of vinyl is a thing, if you look at the ages, the demographic that's buying them,
it's still the likes of you and me. But there we go. You never know. You just never know. It
and
might
that's from someone I know who runs an independent record label.
Oh, okay. Well, yes, you've got that info. And the cold hard facts of it. You would hope that people will. And
in fact, I know many a record collector that actually are a little bit thing with the, what's the word? They preferred it 10, 15 years ago when you could go onto eBay and they were basically giving vinyls away. Now they've gone up. But
oh yeah, I mean they're colossal prices.
And yet Metal Blade Records said it was quite good, really, because we had all these vinyls that stopped selling, and he went, I just didn't have it in me to throw them. I just couldn't, so I stuck them on the warehouse. All of a sudden, the resurgence came round, and it was bing.
That's great.
Right.
That's brilliant.
No need. And he said everyone else was spending a fortune on reprinting them all. We went, well, we had a load.
Great.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant stuff.
I don't know. Yeah, you can go on all day, I suppose.
Well, yeah, you can do, can't you? But I think I don't know how we sort of got on to all of that from territories.
It's because of sequence. It went from sequencing into
that's true.
Listening habits, and then we got onto vinyl.
Yeah, I'm just looking at.
But that's what we do on this show. We like a segue. So
we do.
Where are we anyway?
We're on territories still. Territories. Right, there we go. Unless you've got something, Joe, I don't want to keep hogging this. I'm a bit conscious of talking a lot.
No, it's fine.
Says here, the main body of the song begins as a highly layered textual piece, highlighting Collins' mastery of the studio. This builds gradually into powerful funk-infused rock. The lyric is one of the angrier on the album and immediately demonstrates the absurdity of blind nationalism in its first line. I see the middle kingdom between heaven and earth. Peart explains, as for the opening line about the middle kingdom, that's still what China calls itself today. The reason for the middle kingdom is because it's middle between heaven and earth. In other words, it's slightly lower than heaven, but still above everyone else on earth. The lyric is conversational, almost casual in its tone, and goes on to list example after example of the hypocrisy that exists in the mindset of the nationalist. However, despite China's inclusion early in the song, Peart is careful to mention that this is something that occurs in every place with a name, which again, he's been quite clever there with that. And it says the second part of the song's chorus features, excuse me, another subtle lyric that is only revealed to those who read the lyric sheet. Criticising the insular and stagnant nature of some isolationists, it reads, in different circles, we keep holding our ground. In different circles, we keep spinning round and round.
Right, so indifferent and indifferent.
As in indifferent, yeah.
Yeah.
The song's second verse, discusses the pointlessness of certain kinds of patriotism, the ridiculous hypocrisy of emigrating to or invading another country only to maintain one's patriotic fervour for the country of one's origin. Better people, better food and better beer. Why move around the world when Eden was so near? And that's true, isn't it? Many people I mean, there are certain stars who have moved to warmer climates, but say, oh, you know, oh, I love Scotland.
Yeah.
You know, just pulling that out of the air, and there would be some would say the same about England as well. The song's final section takes an immediate turn to a darker tone, and Lee's careful vocal performance reflects this. The brutal consequences of these ideas are suddenly sharp in focus as Lee sings, "They shoot without shame in the name of a piece of dirt." The song is summed up finally by encouraging the pride in citizens of the world, at once independent and united, undivided by flags or abstract notions of nation.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, it's all there in the lyric. It is all there. The whole wide world, an endless universe, yet we keep looking through the eyeglass in reverse. I mean,
Yeah, that's good.
So good. Don't feed the people, but we feed the machines. Can't really feel what international means in different circles. It's that in different circles. I mean, there's quite a long chorus line, but so packed with meaning. It's just, yeah, just again, I think an extremely clever song on this, and I like the guitar pick on this. The way that, just the way Alec Lyson brings that in with that little pick on the guitar. It just, I don't know, it just sets it up really nicely throughout the whole song. Again, just brilliantly produced. Any comments you got on that?
No, I pretty much said all my comments at the beginning.
Yeah.
Really,
yeah, I've got nothing to say about it musically. I think it's again just another well-crafted Rush song.
Yeah.
And again, just different lyric, different musically as well. And I did see them play this live. Again,
I think this. Would you think this whole album's been played live at some point? Not done a show where they just did the whole thing. But
no, I think the only album they
sporadically.
ever did, yeah, the only album they ever did completely was Moving Pictures.
Yeah.
On the Time Machine tour.
But
I think,
at some point, as every.
I think they've probably played everything live at some point. Whether they, I don't know. Again,
It seems a lot of it was done on that initial tour as well.
It was done on the initial tour, but when I seen them on the Clockwork Angels, I can't remember why they did so much. I think it might have been. No, it couldn't have been. It couldn't have been. I think they just ended up playing quite a few songs from this album, but I think they changed it from night to night. I think they play a lot of this album one night and then not do so much of it the following night wherever they were. So I think they just did it to keep it interesting for themselves. Yeah. But they obviously wanted to revisit this album, and hence they played a number of songs from this.
Yeah.
And Territories was one of them.
Yeah.
It was I enjoyed it. I thought it was it come across very well live. So.
All right. Well, let's move on then to Middletown Dreams. This is another really interesting song. Great use of keyboards on this one. Again, we keep bringing it up, but sometimes you just got to say what's there. This is very, very reminiscent of The Police at the beginning of this track, but it comes into its own around 2 minutes in with the great chorus with that on the keyboards. It kind of gives like a sort of futuristic car chase sort of feel to it. But this one as well, the sort of atmosphere around this song to me feels closest to the album cover. It sort of conjures up that sort of imagery. I suppose the backing, that was the Territories as well.
Yeah.
So, but
yeah.
But yeah, I really like this one. I really like the sort of Morse code
of the
keyboard, and But yeah, it builds up nicely as well, this song. And yeah, this is one of the well, I don't think I've got a highlight on this one actually. I think my favourite song is coming up actually, but I've not really. It's been quite consistent.
Yeah. Well, I said earlier, and I don't think there's a weak song on this album. I really think they are all of a great standard. It's just I think it depends on your mood. Some days you might listen to it and think, "Oh, I like that. I really like that."
Perfectly timed as well. Nothing sort of outstays its welcome, does it? It just sort of gets in and does what it needs to do, and then moves on.
No, it doesn't. I do like the way this comes in. Again, just little sequences of the keys coming in with it, and it's just sort of held down. That I like also the sort of stops. It sort of builds it up. The sort of do 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 boom, and then it comes in again. Again, brilliantly executed. Really sound good, and I like the little bits of drumming that Peart does on this, with just the little drum breaks in the middle of the verses. I think it is that he's certainly on the first one. Where is it? The first verse, was it the office door closed early, the hidden bottle came out, the salesman turned to close the blinds, a little slow now, a little stout.
Yeah.
And you get them little bursts of like the guitar punching in, and then they're just clever. Yeah, just did. What's the second half of that first verse? Yeah, but he's still heading down those tracks. Any day now for sure. Another day as drab as today is more than a man can endure. And then it just opens up there, and then you get the Lee with doing the old O's over the top of it.
Yes, I forgot that. Yeah, and he really kicks in as well, doesn't it?
It seems to convey quite a lot of emotion, and it does, and particularly I think in the subject of this song, it just the lyrics on this sort of can speak to anyone, and anyone can apply it to their lives, really. Again, Joe, I'm asking, have you got anything on this, or is it again any comments about?
I'm pretty much summed everything up.
That's fine. That's fine, Joe. Because I'm just going by what's written here, but I sort of look at the lyrics and look at this and think of my own thoughts with it. It says on here, opening with a blast of power that gradually recedes, Middletown Dreams paints an intimate picture of the imagined lives of a few individual men and women that Peart saw while cycling through Middle America when on tour. Dreams have been a regular subject of Rush songs since the band's beginning, and this is a somewhat ambiguous but arguably optimistic song about the importance of maintaining one's dreams, even if it takes time to realise them. Peart references real people who, despite their ordinary appearance, went out and achieved great things as authors, artists, and somewhat autobiographically in the second verse, musicians. The character in the first verse is based on the author Sherwood Anderson, who literally walked out of a small town and followed the railway to Chicago in order to begin his career as a writer. The painter in the final verse is based on Paul, I think it's pronounced Gauguin, Gaugin, a French artist who left his job as a stockbroker in order to paint professionally. I dare say it's Paul Gauguin or something. Sorry, folks. A bit of Del Boy French again comes in. The song's simple descriptions of its characters are not initially particularly complimentary, but give an impression of the depth that lies beneath the surface of quiet and apparently ordinary people. While the characters in the lyric make the decision to pursue their dreams, the song also describes the nourishing nature of as yet unfulfilled dreams. And again, it comes to the chorus of that, which it says here, dreams transport desires, drive you when you're down. The song's passionate finale is an energetic bass solo from Lee, full of jazz funk style that Lee was a proponent of at this time. The punchy nasal twang of his newly acquired air, I knew I'd seen it somewhere, wow, W-A-L bass is particularly evident here. It's quite rare actually to have a bass solo. And but this is a good example of Lee letting rip a bit here on this. But yeah, I like this song because of the subject matter of it.
Yeah.
The picture it paints on this. But yeah, I like that chorus. And again, it's quite an uplifting chorus. Dreams flow across the heartland, feeding on the fires. Dreams transport desires, drive you when you're down. Dreams transport the ones who need to get out of town.
Yeah, no, it's great.
I mean, it's beautiful, and especially the last bit. It's understood by every single person who'd be elsewhere if they could. So far, so good, and life's not unpleasant in their little neighbourhood.
Yeah.
It just, yeah, I again, I think it's something of a. I think lyrically, it's something of a hidden gem.
Yeah.
In this, because I think people tend to overlook. I think certainly Rush fans initially just listened to this and thought, "What is this?" Especially like with was it the lyric here? The middle-aged Madonna calls her neighbour on the phone, and thinking, "What the heck is all? What are they going on?" You know. But this one that speaks into everyday life for all of us, really.
Yeah.
For us who are not a celebrity.
No, I mean, I would say that this is a nice sort of continuation of Subdivisions.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't disagree with that. I wouldn't disagree with that at all. And again, on this one, I mean, we're saying it all the time. The emphasis of Lee doing a bass solo on this is good, but I actually quite like Alec Lifeson's solo on this one.
Of course, yeah.
You know, it's like almost like a tortured scream, but it's very controlled. Sounds, I like it. I like it, and the music underneath it is pushing it along really well. So no, I like the feel of this song, and they played this live, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it immensely.
Yeah.
So
all right, well, let's move on to Emotion Detector. And something's just caught my attention out there. So I'm going to let you take the lead for a second. I'll be back in two. Just say what you think about the thing. If you've got any notes to read out,
I've got a few.
Keep the audience occupied, and I'll be back in 2 seconds.
Okay.
As quick as I can. 1 second.
No problem at all. Well, folks, yes, Emotion Detector for me is it's actually one of my favourites on the album. I really quite enjoy this. I like the use of the electronic drums, and I think it works pretty well on this particular number. And I will quote from this, the book that I'm using for reference. It says on this, with its heavy use of electronic drums, layers of keyboards and sequencers, as well as guitars soaked in numerous digital effects, this is a song with a complex textural and instrumental arrangement. Owing to these factors and more, it was extremely difficult to record for the band. Marathon, with its string section, choir and complex instrumental passage, caused some anxiety for the band, who were unsure if they could realise their ambition for the song in the studio. But in retrospect, they found it remarkably easily to capture. but in Motion Detector, where they had no similar fears, was actually recorded with some considerable difficulty. It says here, as well as the concerns with meeting the demands of the song's technical and musical complexity, Peart was particularly concerned that the music for Emotion Detector would properly complement his lyric. An interesting comment on this is, owing to this is Neil Peart's dissatisfaction with licensed guitar solo, which had been written and rehearsed for weeks in advance, the solo was completely rewritten and re-recorded in the studio, which I thought was a really an unusual thing for Peart to actually say that. So I was sort of somewhat taken aback by that, because I can only imagine what Alec Lifeson's original guitar solo for this song would have been like, if to be dissatisfied, or Peart being dissatisfied with it, that he had to completely rewrite and re-record it in the studio when it came to the final production, which is interesting.
I'm sure the rest of us could have coped.
Oh yeah, I reckon so. I think whatever Alex would have put out, you would have thought, wow, that must have sounded pretty good. But I think he was, just to recap, Joe, slightly on this. Peart had concerns about the music capturing the emotion of the lyric for this song. And I think this song was the most difficult for them production wise. You wouldn't think it, but it was. Whereas they thought things like Marathon with the choir and the strings and that would be more difficult to capture and have anxiety for. That all fell into place quite nicely. But this one, they had no fears to it, but it became difficult for them to capture, and I think it was during these reasons. The lyric for this was a candid exploration of human emotion by Peart, though it is far from a love song. Many of the song's lines seem to be a direct response, even an antidote to the meaningless saccharine love songs that pervade so much popular music, with the line, "Trust is just as rare as devotion, forgive us our cynical thoughts." The song's chorus is an emotive lift, both musically and lyrically, and speaks of the shattered illusions that result from real honesty and intimacy. While these illusions are painfully shattered, it is at this point finally that discovery starts. I was saying while you were off air that this song is actually one of my favourites on the album. I like this song.
Yeah, this is ridiculously catchy as well, and we go through phases with different prog bands, be it Genesis or Yes or Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I don't know if they had it. No, maybe King Crimson.
King Crimson.
There's a sort of 80s poppy section that they're all guilty of, but this one is just like, when you got songs like this, who cares?
Yeah,
this is just, I love that. The main melody backed by that beat, and yeah, it's 1985 encapsulated. Really.
Yes, it is.
But it's a song that's just again, it's an effortless listen, and the lyrics are always as complex and yet simply philosophically put as Neil always does. I've got a fence panel that I really should replace. But,
is that the problem?
I'm forever putting it back, and I thought, right, it's only a matter of time before the dogs come out, and I'm thinking he's going to go straight in the next door. I was waiting. I was like, no, I've got to go. So I just have to.
No, that's fair enough.
Until it blows out again.
Yeah, that's the thing. that's fair enough. No problem. I think there wasn't any. I tried to keep things going anyway, and just basically was commenting on what I've got written here about the song. So I think I got away with it for you. So that's not too much of a problem. Yeah, I do like this, and it's with the electronic. I like the electronic drums on this. It just works really well on this particular album. But I like you. It's actually one of the shortest set of lyrics he's done, but just says so much. I mean, the chorus, I mean, it's just right to the heart of the matter, right to the beautiful parts. Illusions are painfully shattered, right where discovery starts, in the secret wells of motion buried deep in our hearts. It, yeah, I would say arguably it is my favourite one. It is my favourite. No, it's my favourite song on the album.
It's always like a nice surprise waiting at the end. You feel, I forgot about this one.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, it's got some real strong contenders, but I don't know. I just something about this one.
For all its Phil Collins isms, it's still really good.
Just well, I think in some respects it's sort of out Collins to Collins.
Yeah,
you know, it. Yeah, I've never ever skipped this one. I've always wanted to listen to it. And he's still just at the beginning of that, just the way it comes in, you got some military style snare. So there's a touch of prog in it even as well before it gets into the song proper. I just love it. Love this one. It says here, and again, Lifeson's razor sharp rhythm guitar cuts through the second verse, where the song's incisive lyric continues to elucidate the truths that are so often ignored by pop music. Yeah, it's true that love can change us, but never quite enough. While we may fall in love, it seems that Peart is saying that we are never quite perfect partners for each other. It is, however, the hopeful chorus that serves as the salve to this tough point. He says here, arguably one of the best songs on Power Windows, certainly one of the most complex. Emotion Detector has never been performed live.
Oh, okay.
Its unusual focus on emotion was an indication of Peart's future lyrical direction. So, and I think it was probably intended to be a production number only.
Yeah.
And I certainly have no record of them playing this one live anywhere. So yeah, it just looking at the lyrics again. Yeah, I mean, even with the bit at the end, feelings run high. It just especially at the end where he's sort of ad-libbing a little bit. And again, love the beat work at the end as well. It just I've got nothing else to say about it, Joe, if you want to add to it.
Let's get on to the last track then. And what a great way to close an album. I mean, it perfectly opens, but also perfectly closed. There's a bit of going on in this song, but I mean, the way this goes on, I mean, again, keyboards is very predominant on this one, but it does remind me a bit of like a Depeche Mode or a maybe even a Kraftwerk song. But Depeche Mode, they're more one of their album tracks rather than their singles.
Yeah.
But yeah, just got a really good atmosphere on this one, and I love the way it's kind of Blade Runner-y keyboards on this one. It's again, like throughout the whole album, it's just got that 80s dystopian. That's just the word I keep, but it just.
Well, it has, yeah. I wouldn't disagree with that. I just love the way it comes in on the drums anyway, and it's a mixture with electronic percussion and electronic pads and stuff like that, and it gives it that slightly almost industrial feel to it. to me,
Yeah.
which is probably where you're talking about things like particularly Kraftwerk, I dare say, had that feel to them, didn't they? They're sort of slightly industrial sort of sound to them. Not so much Depeche Mode.
Just those little, because Depeche Mode and Kraftwerk songs would basically just be all electronic, but it would be all layers. There'd be like a boom, boom, like here, and then dun, 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 and then another layer of
actually,
you know, and the melodies would come together in layers. It's really.
I suppose the other band who were probably a little bit like that at times was Ultravox, I suppose, as well.
Ultravox well, I've mentioned Ultravox as being, I think, definitely in the mix of these last couple of albums, but Ultravox were still a rock band, as in they had bass, drums, and guitar.
They did.
Depeche Mode would later add guitar into their songs, and they would eventually add a drummer in the live show, but they're still not on the albums.
Yeah, that's
I think for a certain point, I'm thinking probably around this time, actually, if I've sort of, probably Construction Time Again, and Black Celebration. I think around those two albums. Have I got? Because like that album cover in particular brings to mind what we've got going on with here. You know, you've got a futuristic city, and then there's Constructive Time Again as well. This was recorded in Germany. Well, no, they both were, actually. I think this was might have been I think these are two parts of a trilogy, actually. It's known as the Berlin. A bit like David Bowie.
I was going to say, because Bowie did that, didn't he?
The same sort of thing. They went out with this new producer, and which you can see in my Depeche Mode video with Vaughan George, which hopefully part 2 is going to be coming up soon.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Just a plug.
Yeah, this just reminds me of that sort of. There was a lot of this going on in other types of music.
Yeah, there was. Obviously, Rush being a band of fans, they always listening to what was going on around them. So, again, they would draw on these sort of influences. I think, say you're saying about Depeche Mode and Kraftwerk, I've said Ultravox. I think also probably not so much Talking Heads, but possibly not even so much. Possibly not even so much Joy Division, but New Order.
New Order,
would sort of go this way slightly as well, in a way as well.
Early albums.
I think it was very much that, and I think the way Piet just brings it in with that very. Again, I know it's forward to the floor on the bass drum, but just the intersperse of everything playing off of that straight 4. It gives that slight industrial feel to it.
A little bit where it's sort of floating.
Yeah.
Bits of coming, in the air, but it all comes together.
And then you get the music just coming in. I think Alec Lyson's playing on this particular number is really, it's quite subtle, but it really works well. It really feels good. And of course, there's something that we'll probably end up talking about more at the end. You've got the juxtaposition between Alec Lyson's guitar and the keyboards are more central here, and Alec's is sort of more on the periphery on a particular song. But the textures that he brings to this song really set it off, I think, very much so, on this one. Again, I've said it about all the songs, a great way to finish the album. I think it's a very, very, very clever way of finishing the album off. Just and a nice melody. I like this, a nice melody on this, but we said that about all of them, really. That's why I highly rate the album. I think from Lee's performance vocally is just really good on this album completely. on every.
Before we start summing up, then, do you know anything about the concepts behind the artwork?
Right. Let's have a look. Again, it's by Hugh Syme.
Who's got a whole host of great album covers under his belt.
Yeah, he has. It says the title's multiple meanings are explored visually on the front and inside cover. The most obvious meaning of the term, the automotive one, is, however, not depicted anywhere on the album art. It says here, Jim Burgess has been previously credited as assisting with synthesizer programming. It's Andy Richards, as you said, as well as playing the additional keyboards. Just trying to see if there's anything else on this. No, I don't think there was anything else about this. I think with regards to the going to Mystic Rhythms, it says here, many Rush fans now hold Power Windows to be one of their favourite Rush albums. And also with Mystic Rhythms, it's as Rush were now exploring songs that almost entirely departed from rock music. It's understandable that many of their former fans were unhappy with the band's direction. The piece was indeed such a change of tone. This particular piece, Mystic Rhythms, was such a change of tone for Rush that this is the bit that I was looking for. I couldn't remember which song it was. This piece was a change of tone that it was in fact featured as opening music for NBC's news program in 1986. So I dare say they got a few royalties for that, but it was used for that. I don't know if it was. I think it might have just been the drums on this one, but it says here, it's hard to imagine a television company using much of Rush's back catalogue for the same purpose. Regardless, those fans who enjoyed Rush's continual progression were thrilled with this unusual piece. And in Rush's catalogue, it is an unusual song.
Yeah, but again, that's the best way. Like they always keep their weird and wonderful.
Yeah.
For the closer, don't they? As if to just leave you with a bit of a see what you think this. Sort of thing,
exactly. And I dare say it's probably a segue into the following album anyway. With it just leaves it open-ended as you think, well, what are they going to do next? Yes, the lyric describes the fleeting moments of apparent realization that occur to us when confronted with an amazing sight, sound, or moment. We sometimes catch a window, a glimpse of what's beyond. Immediately, Piet, who appears to always have one foot firmly rooted in logic, asks, was it just imagination stringing us along? Although the true origin of these feelings of awe is unknown, Piet seems to be suggesting that the wonder is the reward. You have a comment on the song here. With Lee's bass melody carrying the song through its final fade out, Mystic Rhythms is an unusual but ultimately successful song that conjures awesome images and refers to impossibly complex thoughts and feelings in a recognizable way. And again, I mean, we always say that, I mean, the lyrics are wonderful on this. Mystic Rhythms capture my thoughts and carry them away. Mysteries of night escape the light of day.
Yeah, it's got a pretty interesting video, this song as well. I know videos were never Rush's strong point, but and again, it kind of, as I said earlier, looks of its time. But there's some cool stuff going on in there. But I think what it is he's got 3 different televisions behind him.
Yeah,
and yet he's looking out the window with a remote control. But it looks like he's watching a storm. And a few different ways of looking at that. But,
it is. It's a great way to finish the album, and I like the fact that it just carries on and it just fades. Just again, sort of reminiscent, really, of how they finished Moving Pictures with Vital Signs. It just yeah, I'm just sort of thinking, right, well, this is what we're leaving you with. Make of it what you will.
Yeah.
And wait for the next instalment. I'm just looking to see if there's any other. Oh, right, here we go. This is the first Rush album to be brought to you by the letter, which and this in this case it's brought to you by the letter M. This refers quite simply to the number of tracks on the album that start with or strongly feature this letter. So Money, Manhattan Project, Marathon, Middletown Dreams, Mystic Rhythms.
Oh, right.
And that was it. But it's something. It was. I think my brother remarked on it. It's by Sesame Street. Was brought to you by the.
Oh, right.
The letter M or anything. I don't know if it's
that's always the theme of the show,
or
wasn't it?
whatever.
They were talking
It's
on
come
M
on
or a
that.
certain
But,
number.
yeah. But for Rush to do that, I thought, well, again, it's just their sense of humour, I guess. Again, some abstract thanks are offered on the credits. Razor Willie, Phosphorus Scoosball, the King of Antilles Television, and it says an HRH King Lurks, which is bison. So it just did you say you said something about the band's official biographer? What was his name?
No, this guy's an amateur.
Oh, I see.
He'd released a book 30 years after the official, but and he'd spend a lot of time
because
reconstructing.
Yeah,
basically a Rush aficionado.
Oh, okay.
In that particular chapter, they had him and Mike Portnoy commenting.
Oh, I see. Because it says here the unit. Another one. It says he's ubiquitous B-man was also thanked in their liner notes. This refers to Bill Banasowitz, I think that's how it's pronounced, who would later write the band's official biography. On that, the only other things I've got is the statistics, I suppose. You've already said that it was released in 1985. It was released in October. Yeah, 15th of October 85, according to this.
That's what I forgot to mention. Apparently, the other day, or it's coming up, is the 38th anniversary. So there you go. Should have said that at the beginning, but
yeah,
I'll put it in the description on the.
That's 38th all right. 38th anniversary. There you go. The chart positions in Canada, it was number 5. Here in the UK, it was number 9, and in the US, and in the US, it was number 10. So, but again, I mean, we might have to pick it up next time. I'm fairly certain they didn't tour Europe with this album. And I'm sure they didn't do Britain, because I was still keeping an eye out for gigs, and I don't recall them doing it.
Yeah, you would have.
Sure you would have. I would have gone all low at this point. I was 1985. Yeah, it was a case of I was in a relationship at that point, and things were moving on quite until eventually getting married in 80s. So
there's nothing on the Wikipedia page about their tour. Normally they do tend to.
I would have to go on to one of their websites, and it will come up with it. We can pick it up next time, and I can give you just a quick back reference to.
Oh no, here we go. We've got the Rush page from March 10th, 1980. Oh look, yeah, I've got the dates. So yeah, March 10th, 1985. So before the album even come out, and by the looks of it, yeah, it was all just American. Let's quick go to the bottom. New Jersey, Massachusetts. Started in March, finished in May, and it's just American dates.
It was just an American tour, Canada and America, and they might have done
Canada, yeah. Sorry, Canadians. I know you always get lumped in, but
there you go. Sorry, but well, that's why we say North America.
Yeah,
I know it's it's Canada and the US. So, but that's it. I've got no other info apart from what I've got. No. Any closing comment, Joe?
I think just another diamond in the crown of what is Rush's golden period. Another fantastic addition to a growing back catalogue. As I said throughout the show, this has been an effortless listen. It's an encapsulation of everything I like musically. I love my metal and I love my rock, but I do like my electronic music as well. And Rush have just perfectly had one foot in one camp and one foot in the other. And this brings to mind, while still being maintained in rock, but brings the other type styles of music that I like. I love the feel of it. Again, it's of its time, but that's what I like about it. And yeah, I like the pop sensibilities of it. Everything, again, what someone would probably be put off by, it's exactly what I like. And I'm liking the evolution of the band as they're going from album to album. And as much as the styles have changed, the quality has remained. They've never sacrificed quality for change. They've always pulled it off, and this is how you do it.
Yeah, they've always.
I think this is another peak of the band's career, and we've got them in spades at this point in time.
Well, yeah, definitely.
If you want to leave us with your concluding comments, and then we shall wrap this up.
I've got nothing really to add to what you said, Joe. I think it's an album that has stood the test of time, apart from its very humble beginnings and being not dismissed, but certainly being fairly divisive. Many Rush fans.
It's been a slow grower. Yeah,
it's been a slow grower, and arguably the slow burner albums are usually the best ones anyway. And I liked it. I liked the way it was put together, and I never get bored listening to it. I've always enjoyed listening to this album, and absolutely enjoyable listening and an enjoyable time talking about it and going through it. So it's fun.
Well, that brings us to an end of another episode of Rushcast. Thanks for watching, and as ever, this is your show. So leave us a comment below. What's your favourite song? When did you first hear the album? What was your first initial impression of it? What do you think of Power Windows, and where does it sit in the Rush canon? And yeah, thanks for joining us, and join us next time for Hold Your Fire. And yeah, with that, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.
Thanks very much, everyone. Take care. Have a good weekend.